This is one of the dishes that I crave the most whenever I'm away from home. I'm gonna show you how to make it today, but be aware that this is not suitable for people who have high blood pressure or high cholesterol.
So today we'll be using pork belly to make our roasted pork. Notice that there are 5 different layers: skin, fat, meat, and at the top of the skin, you'll notice there are little hairs that we're gonna have to get rid of by shaving it, which is why I have this nifty little razor that we only use in the kitchen in order for these life hacks. Time to shave, just like in the shower.
This is actually what we use for medical school when we're teaching or how to suture. Let's finish this part and this part. Baby, you're on
We're going to be mixing 1 part vinegar, 5 parts of water. So just remember that while the pork is in here softening up, you want to twist it in the pan a little bit every so often to make sure that the skin doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. We're taking out our pork. Looks like it's soft enough. We're going to take it out of this mixture of vinegar and water and place it here so we can dry it. Let's move this all over here. So I'll just grab some paper towels. We'll dry it up. Perfect. And now we'll proceed to make some tiny little holes in that top skin. Notice the way that I'm holding the toothpicks. I'm holding it in a way that I'm limiting the amount of toothpick that actually enters into the skin. The reason why is because I only want to pierce the top layer of skin. I don't want it to go too deep.
So you want to go as fast and as quick as possible because the skin is still warm. Once it cools down, it's a lot harder to penetrate the skin. So we're poking enough depth so the fat will seep out of these tiny little holes and will crisp up the skin. So we're basically almost frying the skin with its own pork fat and we'll put it in the air fryer. So I always go to horizontal, get as much holes as possible, and don't forget the edges too. And then I will go to vertical.
Going to be seasoning our pork. So I'm going to be using this spiced salt. And there's already a package that's already kind of open, but we'll use all of it. Okay. And I'm essentially just opening up those little cuts that we made to make sure that it gets down in there, and also rub it in there as well. And then
Rub the edges.
the edges of my finger.
No, the edges of the pork. I want you to wipe off any excessive and dump it out because there's a lot in there. So smack it and
Good job. So it looked like I added a little bit too much of the spice salt, so I just dusted some of it off. And now we're gonna add a little bit of 5 spice, just a pinch. I'm gonna shake it into my hands first. The problem with adding too much is just that it becomes a little bitter. And the last thing we'll add is just a dash of this mysterious alcohol.
It is a 5-year aged Chinese rice wine.
Now we'll just pat everything together. And remember, get into those crevices that we created earlier. And off to the sides as well. Perfect.
We'll flip it over now. Or onto a rack.
Okay. Thank you, cameraman. Well, the next part is to add some salt. It is a lot of salt, but what we're going to do is brush it off afterwards, the excess.
Well, don't put on the fat.
Why are we doing this to the salt?
This will dehydrate the skin so it'll crisp up nicer.
Thanks. Yeah, okay. That's a lot smarter. Yeah. I got a little bit on the fat, so I'm just taking it off because if it gets absorbed, then it's going to be too salty.
That's enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we're going to put it in the fridge overnight.
Sure.
And then sometimes for 24 hours if you really want a crispy skin.
Do it. We're ready to cook our pork. And just so you know, a little bit of prep work that went into this is that we cleaned off the excess salt that was on it. And then because we're going to be putting it into our air fryer, we had to cut it down to size to make sure it fit. And third thing is we made this little tray, which the pork is going to sit in while it cooks. And if you can see, there are little holes inside of the bottom of the tray. The idea is that will allow a lot of the fat to kind of leak through as it cooks, thereby ensuring that we get the maximum flavor from the seasonings that we have on there. And so now, perfect. Now we'll be cooking the rice. This is jasmine rice. We have this interesting rice cooker that allows us to kind of measure out how much water goes in here. But for you at home who are just going to be measuring it with the rice cup, just remember that you want to do 1 cup of rice, anywhere from 1.5 to 2 cups of water, depending on how soft you like your rice. I'm just gonna wash that rice that we put in here. The main reason is to get all that extra starch that kind of hangs out on the rice off. And you can use your hand, you can use a strainer, whichever one's easier for you. We're going to place the rice into the rice cooker that Om purchased on a splurge. So we'll see how much better it cooks rice than an average rice pot.
So it's been about 45 minutes and now the fat has rendered and seeped up into the skin, but it still hasn't crisped yet. So we're gonna put it on broil for 5 minutes. The skin is nice and crispy, now we let it rest.
Now we're going to make some Chinese broccoli. It's a pretty traditional vegetarian dish, and I'll prep the garlic. Right here.
The water is not boiling. We're going to add our Chinese broccoli inside. We're just going to blanch it for a minute. This will give us just a nice deep green color. A minute has now passed. Our broccoli is now blanched. We're just going to keep this water as the base of our sauce. My mom used to tell me to drink this as a kid, tell me it was healthy. I absolutely hated it. We can also keep this as a future stock. We are going to make something similar to roux. We're going to take a tablespoon of cornstarch and mix some of that water that we have from the broccoli. The pan is nice and hot. We're going to add our broccoli. We'll take a ladle or two of our vegetable stock and reduce it down. Time for our garlic. Now we're going to add a couple of dollops of oyster sauce. We're going to lower the heat. Now we're going to add our cornstarch mixture to take in our sauce as much as you need to whatever desired consistency you want. Pork has rested for about 10 minutes. The nice creases that we created or score, we're going to use that to cut the pork. It's nice and juicy. Probably could have rested a little bit longer, but I was getting hungry. So there you have it. This is what we would typically eat at a family dinner with also a soup on the side.